Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jumpstart Your Creativity with Justine. This is the last one for 2018 and the last one overall. I am going to be creating today using this gorgeous, beautiful die from My Favorite Things that came out with the latest release. I love this collage of letters, and I love that it's its own focal point, so you don't have to create anything too complicated, you just need to find a way to color it. So today I'm using some alcohol inks, and I'm going to be using a few different colors. I'm working on Yupo paper at the moment, and I'm using a blue, purple, pink, orange, and yellow. It doesn't have to be any sort of specific alcohol ink colors, as there's many shades in these colors, so just pick whatever you like. And I'm going to kind of drop them in directly by shaking the bottle slightly. I am adding quite a bit on here than what is necessary, and I'm hoping that they're going to blend together to create a rainbow. What I love about alcohol inks is you really never know what you're going to get, how they're going to spread, or how they're going to work, so every single piece is going to look different that you create. And you can try and control it as much as you want, but it often doesn't really work in your favor. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue adding from the darkest to the lightest, or from the blue to the yellow, if that makes sense. And I am dropping them purposely one in the other so that they start to spread and work out. So in the end, I'm going to get a piece that doesn't look very rainbowy or very lined like it is right now. It looks very organized, but you can see that purple creeping into the pink as it's going along, especially where I really saturated the paper in that area. So it is going to look quite interesting in the end, I think, and I'm going to show you it when it's pretty much completely dry. By adding it like this and adding the amount that I'm adding, it isn't very quick drying like alcohol inks normally are. It took about 20 minutes for it to fully dry. And so you can see all the colors sort of blending, and I'm going to use a pen here that is hollowed out to kind of just blow along the edges and get them to blend a little bit together. I'm just being very careful not to blend too much or blow too much air into it, because in the end, this is what it ended up looking like. Went back in and I added a little bit more blue on top and a little bit of orange on top, but it didn't turn out at all like my original piece. So I went in with some alcohol blending solution this time to kind of take away some of that color, and then I went in and added some of the colors that got lost in the blend. So in order for it to not turn out this way, I would suggest that you add a little bit less alcohol ink than I had originally added, and then you probably wouldn't have to go in and do this step. However, by going in with a second layer of the alcohol inks, I do find I'm getting a little bit more of a random look rather than a smooth blend, and I like that. So I was able to go in over top and add some yellow and add some of those colors back in. Now, if you think that your cardstock isn't completely dry, what I would suggest that you do is when you go to die cut, I would suggest going in and cutting a white outline first out of some white cardstock before you do this step of adding the alcohol ink, because if not, you're going to have to spend time cleaning your die, because my paper wasn't completely dry yet. So I ran this through my die cutting machine, and it die cut beautifully, and I went ahead and I die cut a second design out of white cardstock as well. From both the white as well as the alcohol ink background, I saved all the little pieces that popped out of the die because I'm going to create two cards with it. So I went ahead and I added some glue to the back of this beautiful die, and this is just stunning. I love the colors. I love how it turned out. It just really is quite a showstopper. And the white one obviously is just as beautiful, but it's more going to act as a frame to add in some of those colored pieces. So I'm just going to make sure that that's glued down relatively straight on my card, and then I'm going to glue the second one down as well onto the second sheet of 4 by 5¼ inch cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead now that they're all in place. I'm going to add some glue to the center of those letters, and I'm going to start placing those colored pieces first. I find it's easier to work from the largest pieces down to the smaller ones. And if you happen to have lost any pieces along the way, because I recommend saving all the pieces from both the white die cut as well as the colored, you can go ahead with any of the scraps and just die cut another piece. It's no big deal. So I went in, added those large letters on top of the glue. I find it easier to just add the glue to the big pieces first and then do all my placing, which is why I like to work with a liquid glue, because it stays wet for a fairly long time, so I'm able to go ahead and do that. Now for my place with the colorful frame, I went ahead and added the large white pieces as well, and I added some of the color strips also. And I think it's important to just add a little bit more color to that card. It's looking a little bit plain. So I went ahead and I added some of the colors from the background that I cut from the alcohol ink cardstock because I thought it would look really nice. So once they are all finished, I'm going to set them off to the side, and I am going to do some heat embossing and die cutting to add another piece of a sentiment. So I'm grabbing a computer sheet of paper here, one that obviously is a recycled piece of paper because it didn't print properly, so I don't feel bad about wasting it. And I'm going to go ahead and add a sentiment from the Essential Sentiments stamp set from My Favorite Things, and I'm going to stamp it onto some black cardstock and heat emboss it using some white embossing powder to make it really stand out. The ink I used for that, if you've never done heat embossing before, is a Versamark ink, and it is a watermark ink and a sticky ink that acts kind of like a glue so that the powder sticks to it, and then when you melt it with your heat gun, it creates some really lovely white lettering on black cardstock, much better than trying to stamp with a white pigment ink. I'm going to die cut these sentiments using the Essential Slanted Sentiment Strips die set that came out from this new release as well. And I'm going to add some glue to the back of these strips and then add them to the front of my card so that it says, "Beautiful, you are loved a lot," and is a really sweet, encouraging card. You can also see that I mounted these onto a card base. They measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when folded, and so you can see I have a white frame around the original panel that I was working on earlier. And I'm going to stick this down towards the bottom. I don't want to cover up too much of that beautiful sentiment there that we created. So there you go. It's kind of like a 2-for-1 card in a way, where you can use pieces from both to create 2 beautiful designs. Here's a look at them up closely, and I hope you enjoyed today's video and you all have a wonderful holiday season for the rest of 2018. It has been a pleasure creating videos for My Favorite Things, and I hope to see you again in the future. If you would like to subscribe to the My Favorite Things channel, you can go ahead and do that, and there are also more videos available and suggestions below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.